This is my daughter's 2015 Honda Fit that I just bought for her as a graduation gift slash first car. And I did a bunch of repairs on it. I'll put a card in the top right hand corner if you're interested. It was a 3-part series, and replacing a thermostat happens to be one of those repairs. As a warning, do not open up your cooling system while it's hot. You want the engine to be cold, so let it sit for a few hours. Ideally, let it sit overnight. As you can see, I drove the car up on some ramps. If you have jack stands, go ahead and use that, but I think ramps are much safer. Get yourself a pan. We're going to start by draining out the coolant first. So here goes the drain valve for the radiator. Just go ahead and turn it counterclockwise. The fluid is going to start to come out, but it's not going to come out too quickly until you take off the radiator cap. Once you do that, it allows air to get into the system and it's going to drain much faster. Once the system is done draining, go ahead and close the valve right now so you don't forget about it later on and then you end up wasting your brand new fluid. Now we're going to come up top, and on the passenger side of the car you can see the alternator, and if you look just below it you're going to see the thermostat housing. The one on this car has seen better days, but it's still functional. But I ended up buying a brand new one because it's inexpensive and we could get a great idea of where the two 10mm bolts are located. They're actually pretty easy to get to. With the two bolts removed, now we could remove the thermostat housing. If it's been on there for a really long time, it can be stuck. So here I am using my pry bar to just kind of pry on the ear of the thermostat housing and get it to pop off. And now we have access to the thermostat. Ideally it would just pop right out, but if it's been in there for a really long time, they can be stuck. So once again, I'm going to use my pry bar to just kind of lightly pry against the alternator to give me the leverage that I need. And of course, be ready with your pan because more coolant is going to come out once the thermostat breaks its seal. At this point, you could pull out the thermostat, and if this is all you're changing, you're pretty much halfway done with the job. But as you can see, or you heard me, that I hurt myself, and yeah, now I'm bleeding and I'm missing a good chunk of skin. So if you're not bleeding, you're probably not doing the job correctly. Anyway, here was my new thermostat, guys. Do not forget, if you buy a new thermostat, always make sure you buy the new seal. Not every thermostat is going to come with a seal, so make sure you have that on hand. Try not to reuse the old seal because it could cause a potential leak. It only goes on one way, really. You can see the notch on the rubber has to line up with that jiggle valve, and it's very important that it lines up like that. I'm going to go ahead and remove the entire hose that's connected to the thermostat housing because I'm replacing it, and it just seems like the easiest method rather than trying to fight to install the new housing while the hose is installed on the car. It just seems way easier to do it off of the car. Normally you can just twist a hose and get it to break its bond off of the radiator, but this one is being pretty stubborn, seeing that it's been on there for about a decade, so I don't blame it. Anyway, I do have some hose picks here, and the whole idea of them is to just get underneath the hose, and you want to try to work it all the way around, and the whole point of them is just to break the bond that they have on the radiator. And you don't have to do a full 360 all the way around it, you just have to do the majority of it. And you can see they really did help because it was able to break that bond as I twist the hose off now. Now that I got this off of the car, I can swap out the old thermostat housing for the new one. Of course, you got to keep in mind the direction that the thermostat housing is facing, because it is clocked a specific way, and if you don't put it on the right place, it could bind the hose or just make it more difficult than it has to be to try to reinstall it on the car. So just keep note of which way it has to face. And of course, the clamp, you're going to see the old witness marks of where the clamp used to be. Make sure you put it back in its original grooves just to make sure it seals. Now don't get me wrong, the old thermostat housing was perfectly serviceable. Here I am cleaning it up with a Scotch-Brite pad and a 3M white bristle brush, which is safe for aluminum. You just want to get this surface nice and clean to make sure it seals, and even clean up the surface of where the hose has to go to make sure it is sealed up. But this would 100% work and seal just fine. And one last thing you have to check before installing your new thermostat is where the thermostat mounts onto, so the housing on the engine. I'm going to come in here with my mirror and just make sure there's no corrosion. That's usually what you're going to see in these areas. So that whole lip inside of there where the seal for the thermostat is going to actually do its job and seal, you got to make sure it's nice and clean. If you see any buildup of anything, go ahead and clean it off the best you can, because if you just leave it and put the new seal over it, you're asking for potential leaks in the future. Now that everything looks good, I could go ahead and reinstall the radiator hose back onto the radiator, but I'm not going to put the clamp on it just yet, because I want to make sure that everything is clocked correctly and it's going to fit before I put that clamp on. Now on our brand new seal on the back of the thermostat, you can see it has like these two tabs sticking out. Those are very important for aligning the thermostat. So when you're putting the thermostat in, you're actually going to feel when it drops into place and those two little rubber tabs align on the housing of the engine. So it's important that it just sits perfectly inside of there, and that's the whole purpose of those two rubber tabs. They're just like alignment dowels basically. So the thermostat is in, and I've already gone ahead and put the new thermostat housing in place. I got the new bolts in, and I'm just gonna go ahead and snug them up, guys. You don't got to kill these. These are just tiny little 10mm bolts. Just make sure they're snug, and that's good enough. Now that everything is done up top, I could come back here and put the clamp back in its correct place. Of course, like I said before, you want to make sure you put the clamp in its original location. You can see the witness marks. So we are just about done with this job. All I have to do is fill up the system with new coolant and bleed the system. At this point, you could use a regular funnel if you like. I like to use this no spill funnel. It's actually really convenient and makes the job a lot easier. If you're interested in any of the tools you saw me use in this video, check the Amazon link in the description. So let's go ahead and start to fill this thing up. Now I did notice that the coolant that was in this car is the standard Honda blue coolant, so it's what I'm putting back in. It's just a Valvoline Asian vehicle coolant. Now if you see your car has blue coolant, do not go adding green stuff to it, or pink or red or Dex Cool. Stick with the correct coolant. Do not mix colors. So I forgot to record this, so I'll just explain what happened. While I'm filling up the radiator, I like to check the overflow tank, and if it needs topping off, go ahead and fill it up to the full mark. Okay, and at this point, start up the engine, and I like to let the engine run without the cap on it just for a few minutes to get the air bubbles out of the system. Then I put the radiator cap on, take the car out for a test drive, get it up to temperature, and then even though everything was full before you went out for your test drive, let the car sit for a few hours, or even ideally overnight, and I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times when you check the overflow tank and the radiator, it's going to take more antifreeze to top it off a second time. Then you should be all set. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and like always, thanks for watching.